Welcome to the Fibromyalgia podcast with me, health and wellness editor Verity Clark. Fibromyalgia is a chronic pain condition which goes largely undiagnosed and for which there is currently no cure. Yet in the UK alone, it is estimated that around 1.5 million people are sufferers. Poor diagnosis and zero cure means suffering in silence is a common theme in the chronic pain community. Created in conjunction with the Fibromyalgia Magazine, this podcast aims to break this silence because we believe that the more we share, the more ways we will discover for fibromyalgia sufferers to lead happier, healthier lives. We'll be covering and oversharing everything you ever wanted to ask about fibromyalgia, but didn't know who or where to turn to, with conversations with some of the most interesting and thought-leading people, both within as well as outside of the fibromyalgia space, to give you information, insight, and inspiration for diagnosing and coping with fibromyalgia. Because even though something is invisible, that doesn't mean it should be kept in the dark. This week I'm joined by Matt Garrett. Matt has spent years being diagnosed and misdiagnosed with various chronic conditions, including sears and mold toxicity. Alongside living with long-term conditions, Matt's mental health was really suffering. But not one to give up, Matt discovered the benefits of meditation, breathwork, and cold showers, and he joins me today to talk about managing his mental health through these methods, as well as his social media channel, Chronically Mindful Matt, where he helps others to manage both chronic conditions and building up their mental health. Matt, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Verity.
It's
Glad to be here.
It's our pleasure. So, full disclosure for everybody listening, you haven't actually been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, although you have been misdiagnosed a few times. But you do have several other chronic conditions, including sears, did I say that right? And mold toxicity. And we're here today to talk about the dots between mental health and chronic illness, which you document on your social media channels. So to give everybody a little bit of context, could you give kind of a short summary of your own journey with the roller coaster of living with chronic illnesses and how this has affected your mental health?
Yeah, so with my chronic illness, it started with me as I was in the Navy, and I started having a bunch of health issues. And with this, it kept getting pushed off to the side because I had so many mental health issues going on at the time. Like I had PTSD trauma, and I was so agoraphobic I couldn't even go out of my own house at the time.
Wow.
And then on top of this all, I had the doctors while I was experiencing all this pain and stuff, and the doctors they said, all right, well, he must be a hypochondriac. He already has mental health issues. This will be really easy just to toss him as a hypochondriac. So then they labeled me as a hypochondriac. And from there, I got out of the Navy, and then I was still having a lot of health issues. And I started seeing doctors on my own. And as I was going, they weren't really figuring out much. They were running a bunch of tests. I had tons of tests ran. I mean, I had multiple sclerosis tests ran. I was looking through my medical records recently. I even forgot about some of the tests ran. They were doing some other tests on like thoracic outlet syndrome. And then I also, at one point in time, I was seeing this one doctor, and he did diagnose me with fibromyalgia whenever I was seeing him. And so that was whenever I thought I had an answer to something. And so I started trying all these medications to help for fibromyalgia. And I wasn't having good responses to include. And medicine is great for a lot of people, and it helps so many people. But some people, when you take some medicines, it reacts with people's body in different ways. And for myself, I took Lyrica, which helped so many people with fibromyalgia. And for me, it did not. It made me feel very strange. Like almost in my own body. It's the one medication that is on my entire medical record that says do not take.
Well, it's good to find that out.
Yeah, it was good to find out that for sure. So then, so that happened, and none of the medications were really helping me for fibromyalgia.
Okay.
And I went from there, and then I stopped going for a year or so to doctors, and I moved from. So I was living in North Dakota in the U.S. working, and I moved from North Dakota to Washington State, which Washington State has a very, very humid climate.
Yeah.
And so I moved there, and after I was there a little while, my symptoms came back. And my symptoms came back way worse than they were before.
And what were your symptoms?
So my symptoms, so at first, my symptoms came, I had extreme burning in my feet, and I've worked on electronics for 10 years. So I sit at a station a lot of times, soldering on circuit boards and stuff, and solder is very, very hot. So I was wearing closed-toed shoes at my job, soldering, and I had to look down at my feet because I thought I dropped solder on my toes. It burned so bad.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, and at that time, I hadn't figured out what was wrong, and so I started going to doctors then, and I was being seen for numerous things. They were running tests on me. I was actually put on a thyroid medication, levothyroxine, and I was put on that, and I wasn't aware of how you're supposed to take levothyroxine, so I even had a pharmacist laugh at me once whenever I was like, "Oh, I thought I just had to take it my 1 month, and then I was good to go, and now my thyroid's going to be healed," because I was having a lot of thyroid issues they were seeing on my panels. And so I didn't know how to properly take this medication. I stopped taking it at one point in time, and then I went to another doctor that was a naturopath, and the naturopath actually ran another thyroid panel on me while I was not taking the levothyroxine, and she goes, "Weren't you on a thyroid medication for your thyroid being bad?" I was like, "Yeah, I took it just for 1 month and I stopped taking it." She said, "You're supposed to take that all the time." She's like, "Your thyroid panels are normal right now." Sorry, let me get something to drink.
Yeah.
So she said my thyroid panels were completely normal. And to her, that even threw an alarm to her, okay, there's got to be something else going on. So then she started looking into more for me. By this point, I was seeing a primary care doctor through conventional medicine, a naturopath, a neurologist, a rheumatologist. I was going back and forth from rheumatology to neurology, both of them saying, "Oh, this isn't mine." I'm like, I just want to figure out what is wrong with me. I don't care whose deal it is to fix me.
Yeah.
But I feel like doctors should work as a team together, not just push me off to the next person and say, "Oh no, that's not me," because all that does is then it mentally messes up the patient even more.
Yeah. So let's you've been going through this mad journey of trying to figure out what was going on. You were dealing with lots of different things. So how was your mental health being affected at this point? Was there a point where you kind of hit rock bottom?
Yeah, there was. So I was going to doctors. I wasn't figuring out any answers. I even gave up at one point in time. I stopped completely going to doctors because I was tired of going in. I would literally cry in the doctors because I was just tired of these people telling me the exact same thing. "Oh, it's a negative test. Oh, it's a negative test." I'm like, but I could feel something. So this got me to the point I couldn't even leave my house. I was stuck inside. I was so anxious all the time, and I just literally felt stuck. I was in extreme pain. I was so I was in a moldy house at the time, which goes into my health, and I was in so much pain. My whole body at the time felt like it was vibrating constantly in the house.
Wow.
I was in so much pain. The only way I could sleep was by sleeping on our couch with my feet pressed as hard as I could against the end and sleeping on my hands with all my weight because my hands are so bad. So all this together,
Yeah.
it built up and it got to where I couldn't even leave my home. And I was basically stuck inside, just hurting and not moving anywhere forward progress with my health or anything.
Yes, that's a whole kind of different ballgame of things to be dealing with. And so during this kind of process of diagnosis, did anybody talk to you about your mental health or how you were coping mentally with kind of trying to find answers, meeting dead ends?
It didn't. No one addressed my mental health at all. During it all, I was seeing a doctor. So when this all started, I did start seeing a doctor that was for mental health, and I actually went to a psychiatrist, and I went to see about my mental health to a psychiatrist, and this guy was so quick to write prescriptions and everything, it completely turned me off.
Yeah.
He called on the phone, the pharmacy. I could have gotten this doctor's prescription number to call my own prescriptions in, and so I called quits on that then. So I pretty much gave up on it, and I didn't have anybody helping me at that point in time.
And then when did you start when did you start managing your mental health then, alongside all of your other conditions?
Yeah, so during that time, I had nothing was helping me for pain. I tried so many different things, to include narcotics didn't touch my pain. I tried many homeopathic things like acupuncture, massages, so many things, and nothing was helping for pain. So then I had someone mention to me before. They said, "Have you ever looked into meditation?" And I was like, I didn't really think twice about it when they said it to me because I wasn't in my extreme pain yet. I was just going back and forth to doctors. But then it crossed my mind again whenever I was stuck there and I had nothing else to do. So I started meditating, and I started easy way for someone to start with meditation is by using guided meditation apps such as Headspace is what I started with. There's also Calms out there. I use YouTube a lot because I go into more advanced meditations. YouTube is a great resource to find all sorts of meditations out there. So I found meditation, and that helped me in so many ways. I was in so much pain living in this moldy house, and I had one place I could go to that I was actually happy, and it was when I was meditating. I could be in so much pain, but I was happy while I was meditating.
Right, so it's kind of like a double effect, that it calmed your mind and helped with the pain.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's so crazy how meditation works with pain, because I even do body scans meditations now, and going to the pain sometimes, making you more aware of pain, makes it easier to cope with pain.
And was it something that you took to immediately? Because I know for lots of people, meditation is kind of, oh, I'll just sit there, close my eyes, but my brain won't shut up. Oh, no, this isn't working. I'm not going to try it again. How did you kind of push through those initial stages?
So I did start it first, and I quickly quit whenever I started at first. I think I did it the first week or two, and then I stopped, and then I went back to it not long after that. And I will say it is a practice, and it is just like anything. You have to make it a habit. Yeah. If you don't, it's very easy to go away from it, especially in the beginning stages of meditation. I would say the first year of meditation is the most crucial to making sure you do it every day. Because now it's just a habit for me, and I enjoy it so much, it doesn't even seem like a chore to me now. Now it's enjoyable.
How long do you do it for every day?
So right now, well, I started doing this new breath work, which I'm doing now.
Yes, I want to talk to you about breath work.
Yeah, and I usually do breath work first, and then I meditate afterwards. And because of that, I found with breath work, you're so focused on deep breathing that it takes you out of your conscious mind to like your subconscious. So
Wow.
It takes you out from thinking. So that way you get where people struggle with meditation and you constantly, so with meditation, there's a thing called noting. It would be like a stick going down a river. If a stick's going down a river, you're going to see that stick, note that it's a stick, and then you just let it flow by. You do the exact same thing. Like if I have something, you and I are talking, something comes to my mind, I'll just note that that's a thought and put it back to the...
Interesting.
So that way you don't let your thoughts control you.
And that's with breath work.
That is actually a practice with meditation.
Right. Okay.
Noting is, but with breath work, with all these practices, they come into my everyday life. Like I used to have one of the most racing minds you would possibly think. So anyone who tells me, "Oh, I can't meditate because my mind races too much," I just laugh at them, because not like actually laugh at them, but just laugh because I was just as bad as a lot of these people, if not worse at one point in time. So I know it is possible for people. It's just, do you have the willingness to put forth the effort to stick with it?
And okay, so breath work then, for the uninitiated, what actually is it, and what do you actually physically have to do to reap the benefits?
So there are a few different styles. There's a lot of different styles actually out there. There's even ones I'm not aware of yet. So the one I started with is the Wim Hof method. And
so he's the crazy Iceman, right?
Oh yeah, he's broken tons of like world records. I mean, he does things that you would think are humanly impossible, because he has this method that he does. But so you do 30 breaths in, and when you're breathing in, so
through your nose or through your mouth?
And you actually can do it either way. The hardest is through your mouth. I'm not good at doing it that way. Wim Hof does do it that way sometimes, where he just breathes through his mouth. I've done it, but the easiest way I find is breathing in through your nose. And when you fill up, so you're gonna fill up your stomach first, and then it's gonna come up to your chest, and you're following your breath all the way from your stomach to your chest, and I follow it up to the top of my head. And which, with a lot of my meditations, I focus on the middle of my forehead, which is, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of it, called the third eye.
Yeah.
And I put and that's the last place that I focus on my breath going up. Then whenever I'm coming down, I follow my breath completely out, and you want to let it completely out. So it's actually a circular breath motion. It's completely the same length on the breath in.
Okay, I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long is it meant to be, or is that kind of an individual choice?
That one can vary, because he does Wim Hof. He even has a beginner's one, which is slower. So I think with the breathing, and I don't use him all the time, and I sometimes go off of my own. And I've gone off a different speed of repetitions. And with this breath work, it actually makes your body tingle. Like your entire body starts tingling when if you're doing it. Well, you're doing it right when your body starts tingling. And they've done scientific studies on the Wim Hof method. I think it actually oxygenates the blood, is how it does.
Yeah, it must be that you're taking in more oxygen. than usual.
Yeah. And it really, really helps. It's I've been doing it. I started the beginning of 2020, before the pandemic started. And to be honest with you, I think it is what mentally kept me strong.
Yeah, so how do you think it helps you mentally? Like, how does it strengthen your mind if you suffer with your mental health?
So I think with it mentally, what it does is beyond your it takes you beyond your conscious mind. So you're no longer stuck in the trap of your thoughts. And then another thing that it really, really does is it builds confidence. I mean, it builds more confidence
Really?
than I have in my entire life.
How does it do that?
It's really weird. You go into and I'll tell you about another breath work that works even better that I just found out.
Okay.
But this one, it builds off your confidence by, I don't know, you get in touch with something deeper than just your thinking person, if that makes sense. Like, it more than just your analytical mind, you get into touch with something deeper. On a much deeper level, you see the pure beauty in yourself more so than you've ever seen before. Like, I've always struggled with confidence because of my mental health for years.
Yeah.
But breath work has made me see something in myself that I've never seen before.
Wow, how fascinating. And is it something that you continuously have to work on?
It is. I mean, it's a daily practice that I do. I started out where I was just doing. So you can just do the 3 rounds is what I started out doing, and it takes 12 minutes or so, 11 to 12 minutes, and
can you do it anywhere, or would you want to be somewhere private?
Yeah, you can. I like to do it laying down, actually.
Okay.
So laying down works a lot better, and I've watched videos of Wim Hof at his retreats, and he has people lay down as well because it opens everything up so you can breathe better when you're doing it.
God, it's so interesting. And do you think that anybody can benefit from breath work? Is it something that you have recommended to people?
Oh yes, I have recommended it to many people. First, I started with a bunch of my friends, and a lot of my friends, they do it today, and they love the breath work. One of my friends, he does most of the stuff that I recommend to him. So he started with meditation, and he stuck with meditation. Now he's doing breath work, and he really, really enjoys it.
And the breath work also helps to manage your chronic conditions as well as building confidence and strengthening your mental health?
It does. There is actually so Wim Hof actually has a site for chronic Lyme disease where they have done studies, and it had so the full Wim Hof method, you have to do the breath work as well as cold showers. And I've started implementing cold showers again. And I would tell you, cold showers is another thing that is a huge confidence booster.
Yeah, talk to me about cold showers, because I feel like it's one of those things that I keep seeing more and more of, and I don't know whether it's just a quote-unquote trend,
Right.
Or whether it actually works.
It does. So one of my symptoms with SEERS is body temperature regulation. So I get cold really, really easy, and I can't handle the heat either. So it's hard to find an in-between. And doing cold showers actually makes it to where I can withstand cold so much more. And it's helped me with that symptom.
So it's building up your kind of sensitivity to the cold.
Yeah, that's one benefit. And I would say the benefit I notice the most is mental fortitude, because when you can push through and you are capable of, because every time, so I do my hot shower first and I wash off and everything, and then at the very end is where I turn it to cold. And I'm not gonna lie, right before I turn it to cold every time, I do not want to do it. I have to push myself to do it.
I'm shivering thinking about it.
Yeah, it's cold. I just started back recently, and I'm up to like a minute and 10 seconds right now doing it.
That's good. That's good. That's a long. That's a long time.
It is. It is. It's cold, and it's really cold when it hits you on the back. The back is like the coldest part, but it has mentally made me so much stronger, because when I can push through something that I know is hard for myself, and it's that hard for me to go through, it makes it so much easier for all the rest of my stuff in my life.
That's an interesting way of putting it. So it sounds like you, through this kind of combination of breathwork, meditation, cold showers, you're really kind of implementing your own routine on how to deal with your own mental health struggles. And now you share your story on social media, and you kind of created this space of trying to help other people who are having to manage chronic pain and mental health. Do you think that there is a direct link between the two?
Yeah, I definitely see a direct link between the two. Another thing I have noticed very closely with chronic illness, it seems like, because my page is on chronic illness and mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So many of my mental health posts that go into trauma, many of the people relate to that. And I've talked to other people about that before. And this one guy I was talking to at one point in time, he said too, he feels like trauma could be one piece of the puzzle with, I won't say every chronic illness, because that's definitely not the case, but with many chronic illnesses, there is a link to trauma somewhere in the life that changes something.
Yeah, definitely finding that the more people I talk to with fibromyalgia. And do you think there's also something because your mental health and lots of chronic conditions are also not visible to many people? So it's this kind of, you're having to deal with something internally that other people are just unaware that you are going through these struggles every day.
Oh yeah. Being an invisible illness is like one of the hardest, because like recently I got diagnosed with a slight bulging disc in my neck. To me, that is like a celebration, because I can physically see it, and it's like, okay, now I have something I can work on. It's not invisible. But an invisible illness is so hard, because it's mentally hard on yourself, getting all these negative tests, going doctor after doctor. And then it's hard because all these people around you are looking at you like they don't believe you and stuff. And in all honesty, it can push you back into yourself like a hermit, because you don't want to be, and it makes you to where you don't want to talk to people anymore. My illness has pushed me away from like most of my family.
And so how do you deal with these people kind of disbelieving you? Because it's so hard when you're going through all these personal struggles, and people, just because they can't see it, they just don't believe it to be true. How have you managed to kind of get over that hurdle, or are getting over that hurdle?
It is still hard. Dealing with it now, I am starting, as I've talked with people about it, I recognize the ones of my friends who are willing to accept it, and they don't fully understand it, but they know I have something going on with me. And they even know, even one of my best friends, he said, I know you've had health issues for years. He even told me at one point in time, he thought that nothing was wrong with me, because I was going to doctor after doctor. So, I mean, it makes it hard. I will say it has made me very, very picky about the people that I like associate with.
Yeah, of course.
And I hate to say this, but I have gotten bad about cutting off people a lot quicker.
I've heard that a lot. That's been a common theme that's coming up.
Yeah. I don't have time for it anymore. I will cut somebody out like really fast. If they I deal with so much stuff every single day that I don't have to deal with one person in my life.
Yeah.
That's gonna make it harder for me.
Yeah, I think there's a good life lesson just to not have to deal with people that are toxic in your life.
For sure.
You said before that that before you found the kind of Instagram community, you felt quite alone in the world with your chronic illness, and now that you are sharing your story and you're creating this kind of positive platform, have you found that having this Instagram community has actually helped you personally?
Yeah, so it's helped me in so many ways. I share my experiences, and then there are many people who. So whenever I first started sharing my experience, it was like, wow, all these people are experiencing the exact same thing that I'm going through. I thought that I was the only person in the world that was going through all this. You feel so alone.
Yeah.
So bringing that connection is great. And then I talk about my experiences, things I go through, and post about it. And I've had numerous people, like even the bulging disc thing that I have going on right now. I also possibly have thoracic outlet syndrome, which goes nerves going down my arms and through my chest. So a lady saw what I have. She has identical, to include the exact where the bulging disc is.
Really?
And she has thoracic. She's like many doctors will think that it's in your neck because you have that bulging disc. She's like, you could still have thoracic. So it has given me an eye opener, because doctors are good, but doctors, they do not go through the experience that we're going through. So they only have what they know from school and going based off of patients they've worked with previously. It really, when it comes to the full life experience, having other chronically ill people to relate to, I think is so much better, because it helps you solve problems, to be in all honesty, that doctors can't.
Yeah, and it becomes very comforting almost, and kind of reassuring that,
it does.
You know, as much as you don't want other people to be going through these things, the fact that they are makes you feel less alone. And you have to make yourself very vulnerable sharing things publicly. How do you kind of choose what to post and what to keep private?
I honestly, I'm pretty open, like, all the way. For me, and in all honesty, it is almost like it makes me anxious to post a lot of times, but it's therapeutic for me posting. I held on to so many things for so long, for so many years, and therapy just didn't really work well for me, because I struggled talking about all my problems with people. But now it's weird. I can talk about all the problems that I once have, because I feel like I'm not connected to that person that was having all those problems. And this goes into mindfulness, to be in all honesty. And so now I am not associated with all those problems. And it just really, that's another thing that breath work and meditation really, really help. Like, I can be going through so much pain, and I can have one problem after another. Like, I mean, I also have, I had 3 possible new issues at one time. So bulging disc, thoracic outlet syndrome, and trigeminal neuralgia, which goes through my face and is one of the most painful.
Oh my goodness.
Like, looking up the condition, it like scares me more looking up the condition than even feeling it. But having all that, it would overwhelm me if I didn't put so much into my mental health, doing like breath work, meditation, and doing those. They make you more resilient to all these ups and downs that we have going through the chronically ill life.
I'm so pleased that you've kind of found these ways that are working for you, and it's so brave that you now are in a position to be helping other people via these methods that you've found. The breathwork stuff is so fascinating. Before we go, do you have any parting words for anybody who has a chronic illness who is also struggling with their mental health? What's your kind of main advice?
I would say you have to put work into it. Mental health, I let my mental health go for so many years. And I'm telling you right now, when you let your mental health go, especially having a chronic illness, because it's an everyday battle, if you do not put the effort towards it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be meditation or breath work, whatever you find that suits you, if you don't put the effort towards it, it's going to go out of control. And your mental health, once it spirals out of control, is so much harder to get control of rather than just putting in like 10 minutes daily, 10 to 15 minutes daily, focusing on your mental health will make your life so much easier.
That's such an important message to end on, that everything is hard work, isn't it? But yeah, if you don't put in the effort, the results won't be there. And it's so important to look after our mental health, and that it is something that needs to be built upon and build up resilience.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Matt. It's been such an interesting conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed the conversation as well.
The content on this podcast is for informational purposes only, and because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions.